The What You Missed podcast, where we talk, debate, and sometimes even argue, but overall let you know what you missed. Thank you so much for joining us on our 4th episode. My name is Andrew, and I'm here with my trusty co-host, Anson. Today is all about the last week of the college football regular season and other fun updates in the world of sports.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be able to jump in right into this really fun week of football and really just what we've learned all year. And then we do have a few little updates that you might not know about at the end. So we are called the What You Missed podcast for a reason.
Yeah, we even have a real What You Missed segment.
Ew.
Tell you everything that you missed in the world of sports. And that's really our goal, is just to let you know what you missed, what you might not have seen, and stuff like that. So, we're going to hop right into our first segment. It's been our first segment every single podcast, but the MLB one, of course. But we have the top 12 breakdown. And I'm going to send it over to Anson with the top one, who's always been number one since we started this podcast, and that is
Georgia.
I
meant the Oregon Ducks. Not surprised, 12-0. Finished the season undefeated, and they will play in the Big Ten Championship versus Penn State.
I mean, not much to say. We've talked about them a lot. Very strong. Did have almost lost to Ohio State. Probably should have lost to Ohio State, but they have looked like a strong team. And I'm excited to see that Penn State game. I did see, which shocked me, Oregon is only a 3-point favorite. Now, to me, like we talked about going back to our first podcast episode, we talked about how Penn State has not proven themselves. They still haven't proven themselves. They've almost lost to a lot of bad teams.
They really have. I think that Penn State team, it's iffy. It can go either way. They've been really lucky for where their schedule at. They're only lost to Ohio State, but they didn't score an offensive touchdown in that game.
Yeah.
Like we said, I feel like their defense are holding them together, and their fans, because, you know, when you have a fan base that wears white out and makes it a lot of fun just to be in that stadium, it's really hard to play there. It's one of the hardest teams to play in. And the funny thing is that Penn State is playing the number one team in the country, a 12-0 undefeated Oregon who beat Ohio State, which Penn State lost to. But Penn State has a 53.7% to win.
That's crazy.
See,
I don't know how that works.
Just isn't adding up.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I know they're 11-1. That doesn't make sense to me at all.
Dylan Gabriel is going for the Heisman.
Yeah.
And you have a Penn State team that is struggling to score an offensive touchdown to Ohio State.
Here's the thing. I'm going to bet you right now, okay? If I had to make a bet, which, children, don't bet, please. I would bet you that I don't think Penn State is going to score more than one touchdown in that game.
Really?
And that might be a hot take, but I stand by it, and that I don't see anything from their offense.
I think the offense are going to come out. They're going to be excited. I think they're not going to get a lot of these opportunities in the future. I think they'll score more than one touchdown, especially just because with Ohio State being a really good team always. I know Michigan's recruiting class has been really good over the past few years. I wouldn't count them out here. I think it's a really big opportunity for them. They really could, a win here would be really big, a first round bye. But even if they don't win, I think they would. I don't know.
Oh, they're getting
it might be. I think pretty much they'll obviously be in the playoffs. But I think if a loss, they would most likely get a home game.
Yeah. Which
and that is better. Hard. I agree. That's gonna make them look. It will make them look really good. It won't matter in the playoffs, but still, a home game. Just to have a home game in the playoffs is special.
Definitely.
That's never happened before. You just don't get that a lot. I mean, sure, you'll have games in the postseason in really closer to someone's stadium than the others. Sort of like the SEC championship is in Atlanta, the Falcon Stadium, where it was closer to Georgia than Texas is. But it's not like a home field advantage where Penn State can come in with their all white out jerseys. They're just be able to, the atmosphere. The atmosphere. It's just, I would love to be a Penn. Like, if I went, I don't even know how to put this into words. I mean, being able to, yes, I know. I forget every other team I've ever liked. I've always just loved Penn State, and I want to go to a Penn State game just to wear an all white out. I think it'd be so cool. I've always just loved Penn State, the Nittany Lions, but I think it'd just be so cool.
This just in. Anson's applying to Penn State.
Yes, give me a scholarship. Yes. I'll come talk
for what?
For the games.
You're gonna be there. I'll
be the ball boy. Let me be the ball boy.
Okay. So number 2, Texas did a great job versus Texas A&M. Arguably, I would say they did better than. They had more of a spread than I thought they would.
Yeah, I agree.
I thought Texas A&M would come out with more offense, but the defense of Texas really held them down. And they did really well. And then they play UGA in the SEC Championship game, which is going to be a good one.
Yeah.
Seeing if they can come back and beat UGA this time.
Yeah, I was really Texas had a really good game except for their turnovers.
Yeah.
And this is where Texas A&M struggled, is on the offense. Marcel Reed just didn't do what he needed to do.
Yeah, true freshman Marcel Reed. He's been really good, but I think it's not really maturity, but like game sense.
Right.
You know what I mean? It comes with age. It comes with playing in the game. And so if you're a freshman, think about it. You were in high school last year. You come this year. You're the starting quarterback of a college team. That's a lot of weight on your shoulders. He's been really good. He's proven himself a lot to me, and I think he's going to be really good. I think if he's not drafted by maybe junior year, maybe that's putting too much on him. But I think he's going to turn out to be a really good quarterback. I think he'll definitely make the NFL. I just need to see that improvement from him. But yeah, I think it's just hard with that game sense. But like you said, Texas A&M just wasn't able to convert.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, really though, they had a fumble and they had a blocked punt, and they couldn't turn it into anything really.
Yeah.
Like they could not score a touchdown. In Texas, Texas. This is like I said, this is where Texas struggled, and this is why Texas didn't run away with the game, is because they did give those, turnovers. They did have Texas A&M given chances, and it is hard. I think Texas A&M is one of. We were just talking about Penn State, but Texas A&M, the 12th man. Kyle Field is a very, very hard place to play too, especially because really the name like that, an all wideout gets fans hyped. Calling you the 12th man on the field, that gets you hyped too. It was the third most fans in that stadium ever.
Wow.
For the Texas game, and they still couldn't win, which isn't great.
Standing room only, man.
Yeah. Number 3, Penn State. We already talked about them. They're 11-1, and they got lucky with the Ohio State loss to Michigan, which was also really surprising. I was shocked about that. I might have put money on that game if I was a bettor. I'm not a bettor, just to clarify.
Don't bet, kids.
Yeah, I really just don't bet anybody. It's just better not to bet. Let's be honest here. But they're gonna get to play the Big Ten championship game, and like we were talking about earlier, they don't get a lot of chances like this.
Yeah. Number 4. We got the Fighting Irish, Notre Dame. Really great defensively still. Their defense has really impressed me. Really relying on that run game. Only losses to Northern Illinois, which is really big shocker for everybody.
Yeah.
Still shocking.
Still is.
I'm like, what
Still
happened?
have nightmares about it.
I watched Northern Illinois now, and I'm like, y'all lost to that? But, I mean, hey.
Look, I don't even watch Northern Illinois now, let's be honest. I just don't watch them.
So it happened. It happened. It's been in the past. They've really been able to bounce back, beat that Army team. I mean, they're doing well, especially because they don't have the chance for that bye. So they needed to do well. And they're in that number 4 spot now. They've been slowly climbing up, and now they're in number 4, really sitting well. And, they're in the playoffs now because, they don't have a game that, we can lose out to a bad team or, whatever. They're in the game. They're in it because they're independent. So they don't have a bye to worry about or anything like that.
Yeah, Notre Dame is like a race car. I mean, 2 race cars in front of them. One spins the other one out. Oh, Notre Dame moves up another.
Yeah.
And then it just keeps happening. Notre Dame's found their way in top 4, and they're really just cruising along. They're really just they hit the cruise button in the car, and they're just driving straight at this point. They're like, well, everyone keep moving, and we'll be at the top of the ranking somehow.
Yeah.
And I really do think that really they haven't had a tough schedule either. They did play Texas A&M, which was a game that they did win at the beginning of the year, but I really do think that they're gonna have to prove themselves in the playoffs. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm almost 100% sure they're gonna make it. Don't want to jinx them or anything.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, and I've been really impressed over the last couple of years with the leadership of Marcus Freeman, the Notre Dame coach. Young guy. I thought he was younger. He's 38, according to my research. He looks young. He looks like he could play for them. But he's going out there and being a leader, and it was great. I think he's really done well for their program. And so I think, yeah, like you said, they're just cruising along, definitely making the playoffs, and we'll just have to see what they do. They definitely impressed me, though.
Yeah. Number 5 is the Georgia Bulldogs. So I was actually surprised to see move further up after a 8 overtime game versus their rivals Georgia Tech, which they did win.
Hey, go Jackets, and that was targeting on the fumble. That's all I have to say. That's all I have to say.
We will not get into that in this episode. Yeah, they're 10-2. They will play in the SEC championship game, like we talked about. They got. So I don't know if you call it even lucky at this point. I don't even know if you want to play in this game. I think they'll be in just because of the loss in the SEC championship game. It really won't affect them that much. But they haven't looked great this year. I think that was one of the benefits. I think the hard thing about playing Texas A&M is Marcel Reed running over the Georgia defense. I mean, we saw it with We saw with King. He just ran all over the defense. And Georgia, this is where Georgia struggles, is up front against a running quarterback. And they can sometimes stop just a running back, but a running quarterback they can't handle, because I mean it is hard. You have to be able to play a spy. You got to make sure he can't run away, but you also need to make sure he can't throw it down the field to people that obviously are good targets anyways.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the hard parts about it too, but I really do think that this is where Georgia's going to struggle, and I think it was almost a miracle they weren't playing Texas A&M, because I think Texas A&M might have beat them. I think this Texas game will be big. Texas is going to be able to, second matchup of the year. They play in the regular season, and Georgia won in Texas. So Texas coming to Atlanta, playing in the Falcon Stadium, which is closer to Georgia, a lot closer to Georgia than
like
it
you
is
said,
for,
almost the home field advantage,
Right.
but not quite.
almost the home field advantage. Like I said, not quite. And I do think this is going to be a close game, because Quinn Ewers, Arch Manning, they can run a little bit, but I do think, really though, you still see a lot of quarterbacks that you want to protect the quarterback. Your quarterback is going to be your big weapon on your team. And I really do think that it will be a good game, though, because Quinn Ewers has targets like Isaiah Bond. He has stuff like this, and he's a great quarterback. And it's also really fun, because why not run some trick plays? I mean, you got two quarterbacks that can always, and this is what I'll be doing. If I'm a coordinator on the team, I'll be running a few more trick plays than a few of the teams, because I have a lot of ability to do, because I have two different QBs that are good and can throw. And so I know the trick plays have literally nothing to do with any of this, but like I'm really just saying it's gonna be a good game.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'll end it on a Georgia note. Georgia needs to step up this game to win.
Definitely. I think, it was a tough game for Georgia. They need to come out more defensively, like you said. I think, yes, while Texas is definitely a more passing reliant team, which to be expected, Quentin Ewers throws dots.
Oh yes,
Like,
for sure.
That man has an arm, and he has pinpoint accuracy. But so yeah, I think just because of how good their passing game is, it'll definitely be a very close game. I mean, at this point, it's two top 5 teams. Like you said, I was surprised that Georgia moved up 2 after an 8 overtime game to Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech deserves a little bit more than they're getting, but it's all right.
I think Georgia Tech is a good team, and they will grow in the future, but they do have 5 losses. So
Hey, I'm telling you, that Haynes and Haynes duo, though.
that is pretty cool, though. I'll be honest. That is sort of funny, because they're both great running players.
Yeah, you got Haynes King and Jamal Haynes, the dynamic duo. And we were sad to see 5. I think we had 5 cornerbacks get injured or something like that. It was crazy. We had like third-string cornerbacks going in there. It was bad. Sorry, 5 defensive players get injured in that game for Georgia Tech. But it was crazy. We had like third-string cornerbacks trying to guard like these
Our wide receivers that can't catch anything.
Okay, your wide receivers dropped the ball, but also like it's still Georgia recruitment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anyways, number 6, Ohio State. We're getting back on target. Or scatterbrain today. Anyways, Ohio State. Will Howard, the ultimate seller. So Mike Hollum against Oregon. I'm just kidding. Will Howard's a good quarterback. Like we said, only lost to Oregon by 1. I think that they're definitely. I think they're getting in the playoffs regardless.
Yeah, I agree with
Some
that.
Some people might not agree with me. I think it's crazy that they lost to Michigan, and we'll touch on that later.
I'll agree with that.
That was absurd. The biggest fall-off team besides Florida State and the league this year.
That was odd.
I would say it was crazy. We'll get into more of it later. More to come about that. But yeah, Ohio State.
Later on this episode.
But, Ohio State, I think they're going to go out there and just really put on their A game this week.
Yeah, I agree with that. They are 1-4 in the last 5 years to Michigan. I do think we will probably touch on this later, but Ryan Day might be on the hot seat right now. He hasn't won any of the big games.
Yeah.
He just can't, he can't beat Oregon. Like we saw earlier this year, they saw that game. That would have been big. That might have been the biggest game ever for him to win. And that was still pretty early in the season. But even, him beating Penn State every year, that's just not that big of a... Penn State doesn't really do a lot either. But I really do think he might be on the hot seat, because he hasn't really done anything in the playoffs either.
Yeah, and you hear people talking about this guy might get fired, and you're like, what do you mean? They're a top 12 team. Mm-hmm. They're doing good. But here's the thing. Sometimes you have to question, is it because they have a good recruiting class and they have good players? Or is it because the coach is really instilling himself and making himself like a prominent factor of why this team is winning? Because they have good leadership. It could just be good players. And Ohio State definitely has those good players. So, like we said, Ryan Day hasn't really proven himself against these playoff contender teams or these really great teams. And so it's just hard to see. And like you said, he might be on the hot seat, which sounds crazy because they're a good team, but also, like I said, just maybe it could be just to better players or whatever you want to call it. Just better recruiting class, good players that are actually on the team and not the actual leadership.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that is it's a very hard thing for people, coaches. It's just a hard environment. And you have to get teams in your schedule that you can actually beat too. I mean, you got Oregon, you couldn't win that. You have the Big Ten just isn't, there's not too many good teams. Yeah, sure, you went about beat Indiana by more than 15 points. Like, congratulations. You beat a team that literally had one of the easiest schedules in your division. You just really haven't been able to prove anything really this year and even in the past. And I like Ryan Day. I think he's doing a pretty good job there at Ohio State, but I do think that he could be doing better. So I do think that Ohio State could do something with this coaching position. And I really would like to see what they do with Ryan Day, because I do not think Ryan Day is done with his coaching career.
Oh, I don't think so
definitely
either.
think some team that's looking for a coaching, and we will talk about someone who is looking for a coaching job that is actually talking to North Carolina a little bit later about a job that not a lot of people saw coming. I didn't see coming. But I really do think that Ryan Day, if he's not at Ohio State, he will go somewhere else.
Definitely.
And I do think that team has a chance.
Yeah.
But I do think Ryan Day is sort of, we'll see what happens with him.
We'll see.
We'll definitely see. All right, number 7 is number 10. Number 7 is 10-2, and this is Tennessee. Nico Imaliava. And they made that Vandy game look a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. It was sort of, Vandy went up 14-0. They had the 100-yard kick return to start off the game, and then they just couldn't do anything from there. And they really made the game look easy. Their offense is still really good. Still, the only game this year where they have let up more than 20 points was the Georgia game, and that's a really good defense. And when you have offense like that, Pratt pretty much locked into the playoffs.
You can win games with defense. You just gotta see it. Number 8, SMU in the ACC championship. Congratulations, SMU.
I'm excited about this one. I think
it's gonna be really fun to watch Clemson SMU. That's just like we said, SMU needs to prove themselves. They play these low ACC teams and they've beaten, and you're like, oh, they have a bunch of conference wins, but it's not really that impressive. They need to play a good contender. So SMU plays Clemson. Excited to watch it. Like I'm saying, almost rooting for them to win. I think it'd be cool if they won. And then also, I just want to watch them prove themselves.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I feel sort of bad for not giving SMU the credit they've deserved over the last few weeks. I'm starting to realize and come to my senses that SMU isn't some no-named team that just got lucky with their schedule. I do think that they have a chance here, and I would not count them out. Not at all. Number 9 is Indiana, who are 11-1, and they will not play a championship game. I really would like just to congratulate them on their wonderful season and their best season ever. I'm so proud of them. Yeah, they did a great job. They really did.
I mean, yeah, what can you say about Indiana? I mean, yes, an easy schedule.
Terrific job.
An easy schedule, but, fun to see them up there. What can I say?
It's really fun.
Yeah. Number 10, Boise State, led by the spectacular, might I say, insanely amazing Ashton J.D. He's just so impressive to watch. He's crazy. He's a great runner, and it's fun to watch him. Excited to see what Boise State can do. Need to prove themselves, especially because Mountain West could actually there's still potential for Mountain West to get the bye. It depends on what everybody decides and whatever in the playoffs. But Mountain West could get the bye, and we'll talk about another team in a second. But they need to win that Mountain West Conference, and they can have that bye, and then they could be in the second round already.
Yeah, so I would like to save that other team for a second, but the other team is UNLV. I want to say something about that. The only way that if UNLV wins, then the Big 12 would get a bye. But if Boise State wins, then the Mountain West Conference gets a bye. The UNLV, this is surprising though. I wasn't expecting UNLV. We'll get to them in a second, but UNLV, Boise State for getting maybe a bye first round potentially for Boise State and just getting to the playoffs for UNLV.
Yeah.
I mean that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
We'll see.
UNLV is ranked 20th, by the way. They are not unranked team. It's not an unranked team trying to find their way into the playoffs.
That'd be fun.
That would be crazy. Number 11 is the Alabama Crimson Tide, who are 9-3, and really, they're crossing their fingers and hoping for a spot right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they being 9-3, the first team we've seen 9-3. This is a spot where we know that it's just going to be iffy right now, because I think Miami losing to Syracuse, we'll also get to in a second, is sort of back and forth there, because Miami has 2 losses, Alabama has 3, but Miami has lost to Georgia Tech and Syracuse.
Yeah.
And Alabama has lost to other better teams in the SEC.
Except for Vanderbilt.
Except for they are in, yeah. But, I mean, even Vanderbilt this year, they put up a fight versus Texas, only lost by a touchdown. Mm-hmm. They beat Alabama. They scored 40 points on Alabama. Who scores 40 points on Alabama? Vanderbilt does. Yeah. And they're really, like I said, crossing their fingers, hoping for a spot, begging for a spot, really wanting to get in this playoffs and prove themselves again. Because I do think Alabama has the weapons they need. And I do think, I will also get to this a little later about Alabama's recruiting class, but Alabama still has a pretty good recruiting class right now, and I would like to see in the next few years how much longer this recruiting class would go on without Nick Saban, and we'll see when Jalen Milroe most likely will go to the NFL. We're just going to sort of see how this recruiting class will play out and how good Alabama will be in the future, but really, right now, they're just going to have to sit and wait because they don't get no championship game.
Number 12. Miami Hurricanes. And side note, because I want to say this, because this is funny. Basically, if y'all didn't know, me and Anson write a lot of notes for these. We got to research, make sure everything is fact and correctly checked. I read Anson's notes on Miami, and he wrote and might have clicked the self-destruct button, and I couldn't agree more at all. Losing to Georgia Tech and Syracuse, you have Cam Ward. Cam Ward is your quarterback.
That's it, though.
That's
it's
it.
Just Cam Ward.
It's just Cam Ward.
You have Cam Ward. And then silence. Crickets. Nothing else. It's just Cam Ward.
Cam Ward can't carry your whole team. That's why you have 10-2 Miami. We'll see if they squeak in.
Wow.
We'll see if they squeak in or not. That's all I have to say about Miami.
Without Cam Ward, you're nothing.
But we'll just see. We'll see if they can squeak in.
You've been absolutely rocket launched under a bus.
But number 12, Miami, crossing their fingers just like Alabama to make that spot.
I just think they're praying at this point. They're crossing their fingers and
crossing
praying
their
at the
fingers
same
doesn't
time.
work anymore. Pray.
They must pray at this time. Somebody else who's also praying, and probably they might be cooked, South Carolina. But why not pray for a miracle? You know what I mean? You can always pray.
You can always pray.
They're cooked. I'm just gonna say it. They're cooked.
South Carolina's
They're
cooked.
not gonna make it. They're cooked.
Well, you got Ole Miss too. They're also praying for a miracle. That's 13 is Ole Miss and 14. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. They're both praying for a miracle.
13 is Ole Miss, 14 South Carolina.
My apologies.
By the way, South Carolina.
I quit on Ole Miss. They beat Georgia. I was done with them.
South Carolina. They're my second favorite team. For those of y'all who don't know, my mom went there. But my second favorite team. They've had a really great rebuild. You can't say they haven't. Really great rebuild with Coach Beamer. Rocket is big.
I love Rocket.
I love Rocket. Raheem Sanders.
Oh, I love Sanders.
He's a big boy, and he just runs through. And then Lenore Sellers is an absolute beast. He can't be knocked down. Even Dabo said that. He even congratulated him on how great he is. So, Lenore Sellers is a beast. If they can squeak in, I'll be so happy. I don't see it happening, but that'd be really fun. But, I'm just waiting here.
Yeah, you think Dabo congratulated him and really was just like, yeah, you want to come play for me? Yeah, poor Clemson QB Klubnik. That's I'm just kidding. That most likely did not happen. I wouldn't be surprised though because
most likely
they're both. He's a very good QB for that team. They've done a really good job. So those are our first 14 teams, and then we just want to touch on a few more. Arizona State, they will be playing in the Big 12 Championship versus number 16 Iowa State, which we'll also get to in a minute, and they will have a chance for, depending on the UNLV game, if UNLV Boise State, if UNLV beats Boise State, the winner of the Arizona State Iowa State game will get a bye, or if Boise State wins, they will just be able to get into the playoffs at most likely the 12th spot. There.
Yeah, I've really liked Skotebo. I'll keep saying it.
I love Skotebo.
Skotebo's a big guy.
And such a fun name.
He just runs, and he's not Cam Ward because he's not carrying
Skotebo.
Well, but he's not carrying that team, but he's really good. He's done a lot for that team, and we'll see if they make it. You have their contender, the person they're playing, in that championship game, Iowa State.
That is the person they're playing.
That is the person they're playing.
Yes, that is.
See, I told you I've done my research.
I can back you up on that one.
So yeah, They're contenders for the bye. They need to win. They need to win bad. If they can get the bye.
Yeah, if they
can get the
there.
bye. But if they can get there, then they can have that bye and then go into that playoff game. Rooting for both of them, honestly. I just want to see one of them thrive at least. So, we'll see how it happens.
Yeah, I'm excited for some kind of state team to get in. If it's Arizona, way down by Mexico, or Iowa, who's just sort of in the middle of USA, like a little bit higher than them.
Or Boise State, or Ohio State. They're all states, and Penn State. Last one.
UNLV, number 20. Talked about them a little bit earlier. They'll play Boise State, and if they make it, I will.
Shave your head.
I'm not shaving my head. I will.
Give me $5.
Yeah, I'll give Andrew $5 if UNLV wins. You'll better not be cheering for UNLV because that's absurd if you do. It's also favoritism between me and Andrew, and we obviously know who's the best person in here. It's definitely Andrew.
Thanks.
Yes, you're welcome.
I thought it was the cow with the mask sitting over there, but that works too. UNLV would be a surprise. Or the drums, who knows. But UNLV would be a surprise. We'll see what happens. I doubt it, but, I get $5 if it doesn't happen.
There is a cow mask in here, but by the way.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. Anyways, we are yappers. That was the longest the top 12 has taken ever. We're yapping today.
So far, though, really.
It has been really fun. I'm kind of laughing. Just so y'all know, and this is kind of funny, we shouldn't have this much energy. I'll even give y'all insight. I don't know when this podcast will be posted. It'll either be tonight or tomorrow. But currently it is a Thursday, December 5th.
At 9:16.
At 9:16.
At night.
You probably shouldn't say 9:16. What if our computers get hacked? They don't know who we are. Anyways, 9:16 at night. And we have way too much energy. But we're yappers, and we're here, and we're having fun.
So let's keep talking.
Let's keep talking. Rivalry week. Here we go. So many rivalry week topics. It's so fun.
Yeah, there was a lot of fun ones this week. Andrew's going to start off with our first one.
So, like we touched on earlier, it was a late night in Athens.
A very late night.
A very dreary night. I stayed up until the morning of the next day.
That's pretty cool.
Because it was Georgia versus Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech up 17-0 at the half.
I was crying. Not necessarily, but I was not crying. I would never cry over a football game unless...
It's exactly what somebody who cries over a football game says. Anyways,
I'm
pretty sure it was the first time, somebody fact-check me, pretty sure it was the first time since 2020 that Georgia had been down by the half.
I believe that is true.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is true. You also have Dan Jackson knocks ball out and sets up for UGA overtime. Then back and forth, 7th overtime, pass interference on Georgia. Georgia Tech to one. They can win the game.
Yeah, they got to the 1 yard line to win the game, and they
1 yard game. Your 1 yard line. You could have just done a touch push at that point.
Yeah, I know. That was the thing. We didn't see enough. Georgia Tech's game, the whole game was running, and we didn't see that at all in overtime. There was just no running.
It was running. Nope. But yeah, couldn't do it. Georgia stops Tech, and then Nick Frazier runs in to win. 44-42.
High scoring game.
High scoring game and second most overtimes in college football history.
That is a ton of fun. That's a long game. But in the end, I was happy. I went to bed happy. I'm going to be honest. I sort of felt bad because all the Georgia Tech fans and players and coaches all year just want to beat Georgia. And they've been wanting this because...
That's our goal.
Right. But then we ruined their hopes in 8 overtimes. They had the lead the whole game. And there were some calls in there that iffy for people arguing over them. I don't know if we really want to get into those right now. But the game, I sort of felt bad, I'm going to be honest. I mean, the Georgia Tech coach was crying. In the end, Kirby Smart was really comforting him. I thought that was really sweet.
That was a really sweet moment. Between rivals, they were very supportive of each other.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing you got to find in football is that even though you are rivals, you can still be kind to each other instead of having for people to have to use pepper spray, which we will also get into in a few minutes on the field after the game. And really, you can just be kind to one another, really. And we really saw that between the coaches and that this is a rivalry game and we don't like each other. Georgia Tech coach said there's nothing more I hate in the world, which is crazy because I don't even know I don't have any words for that.
I hate Satan more, but
yeah,
it's all good.
That was, I was shocked he said that. When they showed that, I was like, that's insane. There's no way he would have said that. But I really do think that was a good game, and I do think Georgia Tech did a really good job.
Next up is
Mamma Mia, Miami.
Mamma Mia.
Mamma Mia.
Mamma Mia.
Miami had one job. It was to beat Syracuse, make it in the ACC title game versus SMU. And the game was really repetitive. It went 21-0 lead Miami in the second quarter, right? 21 unanswered points. And then Syracuse came back for 21 unanswered points.
Is that a replay? They just like swap positions, like, I'm you now. And they're like, oh, I'm you now. Like, it's just, what happened?
Well, according to my calculations, because I know so much,
Okay.
Miami sold. And like I said, Miami wasn't done, though. It was 21-21. They came back, take the lead. But Syracuse came back for 2 more touchdowns to take the lead, 35-28, going into the fourth quarter. And once again, here comes Miami to tie the game. And you're not going to believe what happened next. Yeah, Syracuse scored. Surprising, right? It's like they're going back and forth. Up by a touchdown, Miami has the ball, and they settle for a field goal to make the game 42-38 with 3:42 on the clock, hoping to get the ball back. But they never did.
Long day for them, too. Wild stuff. I mean, yeah, like you said, they had one job, and they messed it up, and they failed, and they utterly failed, and yeah.
And Syracuse rushed the field. Game over.
Yeah, Syracuse versus the field.
And now they might not have the playoffs because
Because they stole it versus Syracuse.
and Georgia Tech for that matter.
That's true.
But Syracuse too. Yeah.
Yeah. Next up, we got trouble in the horseshoe. Number 2, Ohio State.
Many troubles in the horseshoe.
Many troubles.
Was number 2 Ohio State.
Yeah, was
now
number 2.
They are officially number 6 Ohio State.
But it was number 2 Ohio State that goes to the horseshoe.
Their home field
plays, besides for Florida State, the second most fallen off team in 2024 college football. They had lost.
Rude.
They go in and they sell and they become the Ohio State wide left university that we know and love.
Wow.
And they could not put anything together, and they lost to Michigan, who had the biggest fall off ever. And then that caused a fight. And then police used pepper spray on the eyes of the players and had to pepper spray them and say, hey, you, stop fighting, which we'll talk about later. But yeah.
There were many coaches and players bloodied in this fight because it's just a fun thing, you know. You really need to go. Michigan goes, plants their team flag in the middle of the Ohio State, and absolutely starts a fight.
Bye-bye, brawl. Goodbye.
Yeah. Speaking about flags, though, there were many flags thrown in North Carolina where I think Michigan might have started a trend because NC State followed suit. But while other teams had a hard time grabbing the other opponent's flag, the North Carolina wide receiver, who grabs a lot of the footballs coming his way anyways because he's a wide receiver, grabbed the flag and absolutely became the all-star quarterback for North Carolina and launched that thing into the stands and didn't really help the situation. There was no pepper spray used in this, but I thought watching the video of Tyler Kraft, the wide receiver for North Carolina, absolutely launched that thing into the stadium.
Here's the thing: if you're gonna watch one clip from last week, I honestly would tell you to watch that because he just absolutely grabs the flag and just throws it like a javelin. It was absolutely absurd. I would encourage you to watch it because it literally made me and Anson die laughing when we first watched it.
It was so funny, but it literally did not help the situation. If you're gonna throw a flag, your rivalry team's flag into the fans, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
You want to talk about flags? There was another planted flag. It was Florida. They planted a flag, and guess what? That was another fight. You never could have guessed it. But this time, Mike Norvell, the FSU coach, was so mad that the fight was happening that he didn't even shake Billy Napier's hand after the game. If that doesn't show rivalry, I don't know what does. But also, you want to be a good role model for your players, but then also you're being petty and not shaking his hand. I don't know. Maybe that's why they fought. You know, maybe you're just not being a good role model. I don't know. But
so you have a Georgia and Georgia Tech teams that are best buddies when the game isn't happening, and they're hugging it out and crying. And just a Georgia Tech coach, but anyways, sorry, Andrew. I apologize for having to bring this up again. But really, and then you have two coaches that Billy Napier just wanted a handshake.
Just wanted a handshake, man.
And Mike Norvell sort of wanted to punch him in the face. Actually, when he was like, dude, look at what your players are doing. He's like, why is that happening? And then still wanted the handshake. Just left him hanging. Like, the poor guy. I feel so bad for him. You know, it's like the high five. You want to go for a high five and you like slap yourself.
Yeah.
So you're like, yeah, I wish I could have just done that to him. Be like, I got you, man. But I wasn't there. I was sitting on my couch. Not there.
And I will add Ohio State and Michigan. I don't know the other fees for any of the ones, but the Ohio State Michigan fight costed the teams $100,000 each, which is crazy and a lot of money. And yeah, don't fight, folks.
Yeah, really. The Sun Devils were doing devilish things.
Was there
down
another flag?
In Arizona. There was no flag. It was actually a pitchfork this time.
A pitchfork.
A pitchfork.
On brand. That's honestly more creative.
I know. They really need to be different, you know, because they were like, look, you weirdos throwing flags in the middle of the field. We're going to throw our Sun Devil pitchfork in the middle of the field, make everyone frustrated. So, really on summary this week, there were 3 flags planted and 1 pitchfork. And this was a big rivalry. We don't really see this much commotion happening. I love how the Baker Mayfield, the quarterback in the NFL for the Bucs, put it. He said that it's a part of football. Don't penalize anyone for doing anything like that. Don't, like you said, the Michigan fine. Like, don't do anything like that. Like, it's the game of football. You have to let the players do it the way. It's a rivalry game. It's one of the fun weeks of football. You just got to let them do your thing. You can't get in a fight. You got to take the L.
Yeah.
And I love how he said that. I think that was so... I think he put it perfectly, really. But really, 3 flags planted, 1 pitchfork, and then there were 9 fights this week. 9 fights. Ole Miss, Mississippi State fought on Friday. Michigan, Ohio State, obviously, and then North Carolina, NC State. Obviously, Arizona State, Arizona. Florida State. And then a few of the teams, Arkansas, Missouri, Auburn, Alabama, Notre Dame, USC, and Texas A&M. That is a ton of fights.
That's a lot of fights.
That's a lot of fights.
9 fights.
These are just ranked teams.
Yeah.
Well, except for NC State and North Carolina. And, well, I think is Missouri still ranked?
Missouri.
I believe Missouri.
I don't know.
I believe Missouri is still ranked.
Okay. So most of them ranked teams.
Right. Most of them are ranked teams.
And they're all fighting.
They
be scrapping.
Big rivalry. Big rivalry game.
Definitely. Off the topic of fights, because we don't like violence here at the What You Missed podcast, we're going to do just a little bit of a season recap. Just a little bit of what you thought, and then we'll do... I'll ask you a question, you ask me a question, and then I think I got one more question for you, and I don't think you have. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, I'm out, yeah.
What to you was the biggest upset?
We mentioned this in the past and in this podcast. The Northern Illinois Notre Dame game. I think... I'm not a better guys, but I would have put money in that game. All right? I don't know how I would have done that, but I was shocked. I think I don't even know how big of a favorite Notre Dame was, but it was probably at least a 30-point favorite to win that game, and they didn't even score 15 points. And Northern Illinois scored 16. It was only a 2-point game.
Yeah,
but
still.
I was still really shocked about this game.
Mm-hmm. My upset happened this past week. Michigan versus Ohio State. I did not see a fallen off Michigan team. I don't care how determined you are.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think Ohio State would stoop to the level of losing to that Michigan team.
They were a 3-touchdown favorite in that game and lost.
Yeah. So,
That's
Ohio State loses Michigan to Michigan. Ohio State, what are you doing? I don't really know. But Michigan won. That's my upset.
Let's go. One of the questions I have is, what do you think was the most impactful loss this year?
I have Dose.
So do I.
Okay.
Yeah, they're cool.
So I have Ohio State losing to Oregon.
Really?
Because I think, and this is just my opinion, I think if Ohio State beats Oregon, then there might be a case, or maybe a case for either Texas. I don't think there should be a case for Penn State, but other people might think there should be a case for Penn State. But maybe there's a case that Texas is better than Oregon, and Texas is the number 1 seed, and Oregon's the 2 if Oregon was 11-1. So that's mine. And then my other most impactful game was also happened this past week, was Miami losing to Syracuse.
Mm-hmm.
Like we said, punch the self-destruct button, absolutely sold. And
That's what I wrote down. What you said.
I'm sorry. I had to write it up. But yeah, Syracuse beating Miami very influential, probably knocks Miami, or could. Like we said, they're praying that Cam Ward can clutch up.
Praying and crossing fingers. No, he can't. That's the problem, though. He can't clutch up. There's nothing we have to clutch up on. The season's over.
Yeah.
They're just sitting on their couches watching the playoff committee and
7
the
p.m.
ACC championship game and hoping that. Do you think they're cheering for SMU or Clemson?
I think
Clemson would have 3 losses, but SMU, and I don't know if they probably 2 losses. SMU.
I think they cheer for Clemson because if SMU loses, then SMU goes down, and that could be more of a spot for them.
But what about Clemson? Do you think they would put SMU losing to Clemson over Miami losing to Syracuse and Georgia Tech?
I don't think that you can, honestly, to me, I think for Miami, you can't even figure out what the playoff committee is going to do. Because the playoff committee confuses me all the time, so you best believe they're going to confuse them. Also, you have a little bit of a bias as please us in the playoffs. So, we'll see. But yeah, what were your most impactful games?
Mine would definitely be the Oklahoma-Alabama game or the Ole Miss-Florida game. Because Florida beating Ole Miss, Oklahoma beating Alabama, this was a very interesting dynamic because Ole Miss and Alabama now both have 3 losses. I think Ole Miss, they're cooked. I think Alabama has a chance. But I think this was really impactful because this knocked 2 really good teams. You saw both of them go beat Georgia, the number 5 team in the country. Now they're both might not even make the playoffs. And I think that's very shocking too as well with everything else that is happening so far. So I really do think that this is a very important game. These were very important games.
Yeah, I totally agree. The next or last question we actually have is the different surprising teams that we have. So what teams were you surprised to see ranked in the top 12 maybe? Just not anywhere in particular, but teams that you were surprised by that really stood out when you didn't think they might not be a ranked team, might not be a surprising team, might not even be a good team, honestly.
Yeah, I think at this point of the season, seeing South Carolina inside the top 25 was really surprising to me. Obviously, Indiana, we've said that a lot throughout this. We really were not expecting anything out of Indiana, but Clemson would be my other one. Clemson was sort of cruising along around 15, 16, 17 the whole first half of the season, and not until the ACC Miami losses is Clemson really going to get a shot to actually prove themselves again. And it's really just been Clemson sort of sitting there, so really being able to see them sitting there right now in a position to be able to make the playoffs is really surprising to me.
I have a couple of surprising teams as well. Number one, we talked about, or actually, I'll group these two together because these are 2 surprising teams that really we don't hear about much at all. Boise State I'd heard of, SMU not really much at all. We've talked about this a lot in other podcasts, but they really surprised me as both teams that are really small schools, 1, so not the biggest budget for recruiting, and 2, just not teams that I would be like, yeah, they're a good football school.
Right.
I wouldn't see this at all. Like you said, we've seen SMU more and more, and we'd be like, okay, these are real contenders. These aren't just guys who have an easy schedule, who just not put hard games on their schedule and just, they're just all right, but they're somehow squeaking by because they're in this bad conference. No, it's their first year in the ACC, and they are doing something. And so I think that's really surprising. And then Boise State, they've been all right sometimes, but I think really just Ashton Jeanty and this team right here is just really different. And then my final one is Arizona State. I didn't expect them up there either. They're always pretty decent, but with that leadership of Cam Skatebo, that running back who is a beast, he is just great, and he is just a great running back. And so just seeing that, those are teams you wouldn't expect, but they're here. And so yeah, those are my surprising teams.
Yeah, Boise State, Arizona State, and the SMU Elephants.
Yeah.
So, yeah, really surprising to see the SMU Elephants up there.
Yeah. Can't believe you got me with that joke, but it happened.
Yeah, I really did get you with that. That was pretty funny.
You really had me believing for a second that SMU was the Elephants for a little bit.
That's actually funny. The SMU Elephants actually sounds really good.
It kind of does.
Does it ever confuse you why Alabama's like the Elephants, but their name is like Roll Tide?
Roll
but
Tide.
Then, they also have an 18 on their helmet for that's just how their helmet is anywhere else.
They don't know what they are. I mean, maybe it's an Alabama thing because you got maybe it's an Alabama thing because you got the Auburn Tigers, but then they say War Eagle. I think they might just be a little confused. Their D1 schools might just be a little bit confused.
Yeah, but
by the mascots.
it's an elephant. It's Roll Tide. and it's 18 on the helmet. Like when it's sitting it out, if they're on game day and they have their little helmet up front, it's 18 on it. But in the game, they don't have an 18 on their helmet.
What do you mean?
Do they have an 18 on their helmet in the game?
Well, they just have their number.
Well, I know that, but they don't have the number 18.
That's true. I don't know why they put the 18 in. That is true. They put the 18 on every time. That's weird. I don't know. I have
It's
to look
always
into
been
that.
the 18.
Always the 18. Who knows? Alabama and Auburn are weird. Case closed.
Wow. Through this year, there have been, just like talking about the season recap, there have been 72 teams that have lost while being ranked.
Wow.
That is a ton of teams. There have been 18 fields rushed this year. Just throughout ranked teams, I believe there is more than that. Vandy, Alabama was one of them. Vanderbilt, it's been 60 years since Vanderbilt last beat Alabama. 84 was the very last time Vandy beat Alabama. They rushed the field there. Then Oklahoma, Alabama. The very first time Alabama did not score a touchdown since like 2011, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
And then Iowa State, Kansas. Iowa State's first win season ever
First
in
10-win
franchise
season,
history.
yeah.
And
That's
then there was
crazy.
many other teams. Alabama was Tennessee, Vandy, and Oklahoma all rushed the field while playing Alabama. They were the most common team that appeared. And this is really crazy because you don't usually see this many fields rushed in one season.
Yeah.
You usually see 5 to 6, but 18 is a lot. And then 72 teams that have lost while being ranked, that's a ton.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is, like, yes, there's always upsets every year, and they're so fun. But this has been a year where ranked teams are going into games and losing. And this is, I think, expected more than ever, right?
For real.
Because
you're not
you
expecting
used to,
anything.
you used to think, oh yeah, my ranked team of, we'll just say Georgia, right? Because that's very common here. And so I think like you go into a game, or you used to be able to go into a game and say, oh, we're playing, I don't know, let's just say UMass, right? They didn't beat Georgia, but they put up a fight in the first half.
Northern Illinois.
Northern Illinois, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Northern Illinois. They expected to go in that game and destroy Northern Illinois, yet
Right.
they couldn't put up work. And so I think it's been a different thing this year, is that you walk into this game and you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna win, and then there's been a lot
Right.
of ranked teams losing, and there's always upsets, that's always a thing, and that's fun. But there's just been so many updates that even from like a podcast perspective, it's hard to like be like, oh yeah, this team's gonna win, this team's gonna lose, because there's so many different contenders for different things. There's definitely so many contenders for the playoffs. I could not tell you. I could have a favorite or somebody I think should win or want to win, but I have zero clue who's going to win this playoffs. And that, like, to me, that makes it so much more fun. As there's so many big contenders and there's so many people that are coming in, but also they could lose to these bad contenders. So you never know.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. This season has really just been crazy. The Northern Illinois Notre Dame game, not Penn State. I did say Penn State earlier. For me, I've always had Penn State and Notre Dame mixed up. They have nothing to do with each other.
I mean, that's a you problem, man.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, though, I do think there are games like that, and you really can't, you don't need to be too confident going into games this year.
Yeah.
You've seen it through the teams. You've seen people very confident going into games like that, and then they end up coming out looking really bad in the game, and it does not look good on the teams or anybody else, really. And I really do think it's sort of starting a new year of college football. People with 12 in the playoffs, and they know that their division could mean something.
Yeah.
And if they want their division to mean something in the future, like if there is...
You see that with the Mountain West Conference.
I know, the Mountain West Conference, like they're going to get a chance, but then like I believe it is the American Athletic Championship. Like if they might, like, in the future, if they ever change anything up, if they're a good conference in the future, when one of these teams, maybe like the Big Ten, I think the Big Ten, but like the ACC, if the ACC starts falling off, if the Big 12 starts falling off, like they could be a potential candidate for an automatic playoff spot in the future if they do start changing things up. Because I believe they're definitely going to. They're not going to stick with 12 teams forever. They're going to change stuff up. Yeah. So I really think that people are really confident. They want to be able to see their conference, their division, be able to have a chance, and for them to have a chance. I think it's going to give you a lot more confidence when you know that 8 more spots are going to be added into the playoffs, and people are going to step up their game. You've seen this from South Carolina. You haven't seen South Carolina ranked too many times the last few years.
Yeah.
But seeing them ranked this year and almost have a spot, they're ranked 15 right now. 14, actually. Ranked 14 right now. So they have a shot. They're one of the first 2 teams out of the playoffs. And so people are fighting harder this year than they have in the past, I believe.
Well, and another thing is, and I like how you said that, like, the 12-team playoff is definitely not for everything, because you see, like, people like Nick Saban even speak about how Clemson might be out, and that was a couple weeks ago, but just like the way it works and all the craziness. And so to me, it's almost like the 12-team playoffs might be like a bill of rights. like how the Bill of Rights came out, everybody loved it at first, and then it kind of fell off, and there was these problems with it, and then they made the Constitution, and that was the set thing.
Right.
And so maybe this is just the trial period to what's to come. We don't know. But like you said, I like how you said that, it's an ever-changing thing, and the 12-team playoff definitely could change.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
So now, we have our game day junior. Me personally, I'm beating Anson. I went 8 for 2 last week, which I'm very proud of. I'm sitting at 3-7 for the last couple of podcasts. Or, sorry, not 3-7, 13-7 for the last couple of podcasts.
No, he's 3-7, trust.
Not 3-7. I'm 13-7 in the past 2 weeks that we've picked. And Anson over here. What are you, bud?
I am 14-6.
You're also a liar.
I am 10-10, batting 500.
Hey, tell them what you went. You did good last week. 6-4.
6-4 isn't good.
I went 8-2, but it's all good. Hey, you got a chance this week. I only got 6 games, but you have a chance. Yeah, I mean, if you get all 6 right and I somehow get all 6 wrong, I think.
I think there's some of the games we're picking.
Yeah, I definitely agree that they're the same. Hey, we'll see. You never know. So, first game, UNLV versus Boise State. Who you got?
Yeah, Mountain West championship game. Boise State, UNLV. Boise State wins. They get a bye first round. UNLV wins. They make the playoffs. You said it earlier. Ashton J&T runs all over UNLV. I think Boise State wins this game.
I agree. Yeah, I think the defense, the stats of the defense of UNLV, it's just not going to be able to take the run game of Ashton J&T. And I even think maybe even Boise State's receivers. And Boise State receivers aren't that good.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely going to be a win for Boise State. Would I love to see UNLV win and potentially make the playoffs? That would be hilarious.
They would make the playoffs. It's not potentially. They would make the playoffs.
They
automatically get in.
So if
UNLV wins, they automatically get into the playoffs.
Would I love to
most
see
likely
that?
They'll be the 12th seed, but they'll get into the playoffs.
Would I love to see that? Yes. It'd be absolutely hilarious to see UNLV.
Hilarious. That's crazy.
I don't even know what UNLV stands for. And that shows you just how bad they are. And so if they make it in the playoffs, that'd be hilarious. They're going to lose out first round if they do.
Wow.
You have very good teams. I mean, anybody can beat anybody on any given day, but I don't think UNLV will go far. But honestly, that'd be fun. I chose Boise State. It's definitely the definite answer. I mean, but hey, UNLV proved me wrong. I called you out.
I hope they do. I will owe whole $5 to Andrew if UNLV wins.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm cheering for Boise State, but I mean, I want to see UNLV win. I think they have a chance. I'm not gonna throw them under the bus like my friend over here did.
I'm just giving them motivation. I'm calling them out.
Oh yeah. You're trying to scare them. You better win.
Yeah.
You
Next up,
can't do it.
we got the American Athletic Championship. We just talked about this. I think we agree on this one too. I have Army.
No, what if I just swapped?
Oh.
I'm gonna take Tulane now.
Are you actually?
Yeah, I know. I do. I gotta make sure this is one of the, except for the playoff bracket that we will make picks on, because that will be a ton of fun. But I got 7 games, and we've already both picked Boise State, so I'm gonna have to go Tulane here. I don't really have a good why, but I think I was going with Army. I have Army as my pick, but I'm gonna swap here and go Tulane because why not?
I believe is Tulane ranked? No.
Probably. I believe they are. I believe. What 20.
Third. So I think they're 20. Something. There's something. But I do believe in Army. I think Army is definitely the better team. They used to be ranked. Army is no longer ranked after that loss to Notre Dame. But I think that Army will definitely pull off the win. Tulane is a good team, and I think it's definitely going to be a good game. But I think Army will pull off the win.
Army's ranked 20.
They are ranked.
Tulane is not ranked, but Army is ranked.
Okay, so Army's ranked.
Army's 24th. Tulane is not. Tulane was 17th. They just dropped from the playoffs.
See, so that's why I don't agree
Yeah.
with this, but whatever.
But they dropped from the playoffs, so they need something to prove,
Okay. Next
Army's just been there.
You have the Dr. Pepper Big 12 Championship.
Who
do you got?
I like Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper?
Dr. Pepper.
See, I don't drink caffeine. So I'm just Sprite.
You're just weird.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so we got Iowa State versus Arizona State. Which state is going to be your state to win the state? I don't even know. Win the championship.
It should just be called the State Bowl at this point.
The State Bowl.
Well, then it wouldn't be the same every year.
That's true.
I'm gonna grow up one day and make a conference called the State Conference.
Which state is your state?
Iowa State. Huh?
Which state's your state?
Which state?
Which one are you picking?
I gotta go with State.
No, okay. A state team's gonna win. I could bet you $1 million on that one. But which? Do you have Arizona State or Iowa State?
What if they tie?
They're not.
Okay, I'm going to go with the Sun Devils, Arizona State, and Skitebo.
Cam Skitebo. He's going to
They'll
win
beat
it for him.
Iowa State.
I agree. Nothing else to say on that because I just, I
No,
agree.
there really isn't anything, but Iowa State is looking for their first conference title win since 1912.
Wow. That's a little bit older than me.
Only a little?
Yeah, only a little.
How old are you?
See, most people think I'm just a teenager.
You know what? Don't answer that
you know.
question, but like,
Most people think I'm just a
nobody
teenager,
wants to know
but
how old
no.
you are. You know,
Oh.
nobody wants to know.
Okay. Next one we got is Georgia versus Texas. This one we actually disagree on.
This is an easy pick. Obviously, Georgia's going to blow out Texas in a rematch. They already beat them, so they're going to beat them again in Mercedes-Benz, Falcon Stadium. This is not a hard choice at all, right?
To me, this is also an easy pick for the opposite reason because they just went into 8 overtimes with Georgia Tech. They're a little sad. They're not trusting their defense. They're not trusting their
sad.
offense. They're not trusting anything about their team. And Texas is going off a big win against Texas A&M. I got Texas.
Well, you're wrong.
Well, I mean, we'll just see.
You will be
Maybe,
wrong.
Maybe.
4
they will-
o'clock, Saturday. Tune in. Watch it. I don't know what network it's on.
I'll be watching, but hey,
I'll be watching,
we'll
too.
see. I think it'll definitely be a good game. I think it will be a better game than the first time they played. Would you agree with me on that?
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
I
I
guess,
think
yeah,
so.
I guess so.
Next up,
Yeah, you're right.
you got the Big Ten Championship. You got Oregon versus Penn State.
With the weird projection thingy, because Oregon
Yeah.
is a 3-point favorite.
Oregon's a 3-point favorite when
but
they should
Penn
be.
State is at 53.7%.
Yeah, but I think Oregon should be like a 10-point favorite. I don't know. I have so much more confidence in Oregon, and it goes back to day one when we talked about Penn State. They have not proved themselves to me. I don't think they're good enough to beat Oregon.
So, like, what if I said Penn State here?
Answer's about to change his pick for the second time. this
So,
podcast.
he's still looking at my notes. He's been looking at my notes. You probably believe me if I just said he just gets everything from me.
That's not true. That is not.
It might be true.
I have to testify for the listeners now. I have 4 pages of notes for this podcast, but
I have to testify. I have 4 as well.
and they're different, so
They are different.
it's okay, buddy.
But,
You're picking Penn State.
no.
Okay.
I can't change this one. I think Oregon obviously will win.
Oregon
I've
does.
been taking long shots in the past with Texas A&M beating Texas. I was actually confident about that one, but like I gotta have a winning record on the season.
Yeah.
So this might equal out for the Tulane Army game. So
The
I'm
last-
gonna go the Ducks here.
This is your insurance for that game.
Yeah.
Okay. Last one we got ACC championship game. Do you have SMU or do you have Clemson?
Okay, so I actually did pick SMU. He can tell you.
I can tell you. I can attest. For all this was out there, he picked SMU.
I apologized earlier. I think I've been underestimating SMU. I think they actually have more in the tank than I actually thought they did, and I think that they will be able to beat Clemson here. They have the height. First year in the ACC, I think they can go get an ACC championship win.
See, here's the thing. I would love to see that, and I honestly kind of want SMU to win, but I think Clemson is just going to go out there. They've had so many chances, and they know they cannot blow this one. That's my
Yeah,
take on
that's
it.
true.
Is that they know that they've had so many chances. They've gone in there. They've lost to South Carolina, but they have this one game. They have this one game that that they're going to play, and they know what they need to do. They've had so many chances, and they're like, "This is it. This is our last chance that we're ever going to get." And so this is their game. They need to win this.
But what if it's like the other way around? This is SMU's chance to prove themselves in the new division.
You could be right. I don't know.
Like what if I just am right? What if there's like no could and I just am right?
You're right.
Thanks, man. Okay, one more thing before we get into our little what you missed section of this podcast. I just wanted to run over signing week this week started Wednesday. And Bryce Underwood, just a few things that happened. Bryce Underwood, the number 1 QB in the ESPN 300, flipped from LSU to Michigan. Julian Lewis, the number 2 quarterback just the number 2 prospect, and he's a quarterback in the ESPN 300 from USC, who's been committed for a long time actually at this point, and now is going to Colorado. Madden Imadiava, Nico's brother, is signing with Arkansas, which is absolutely amazing. I think Imadiava. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. I don't think I'm saying it right. But he's signing with that, and then the next signing day will not be until February 5th. Signing day is pretty much where all the high school high school players that are really, really talented.
Really, really
five-star,
good.
sign with teams, and they're committed to going there. I don't know if they can swap.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't think they can swap, but pretty much on the day, Texas was the top of the recruiting class with Alabama, Georgia, Oregon, and Ohio State following in the top 5. And then 2 surprising teams, Auburn at 6 and Michigan at 7.
Michigan needs it, man.
So does Auburn, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, the War Eagle Tigers.
The War Eagle Tigers. Okay. No one you've all been waiting for, or not. Maybe you just are tired of us. We've kind of talked for a long time. But last thing we have is the What You Missed segment.
Yeah, just some things that have happened this week in sports that you might have missed.
And here's the thing.
That's what we do.
We love talking about college football and it's definitely something that needs to be talked about. And we'll be like, okay, well, should we talk about this? And we're like, no, we need to talk about college football because college football is having so much stuff. Mm-hmm. But we also want to let y'all know, and we're called the What You Missed podcast for a reason. We're also called a sports podcast. So we're going to let you know a little bit of insight into some other sports. Well, one is football.
Yeah, you're going to see pretty much the 3 sports we're going to go over. It's going to be NFL, the FBS, CFB.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it, and the MLB. So,
yeah, and the MLB. So these are going to be the 3. We're not going to do a lot of other basketball stuff. We don't know much about basketball.
we could try, but, you know.
We could try,
it would
but
be bad.
just be Kobe or LeBron.
Hey,
Is the GOAT.
all I'll tell you is there could or might be or could be or might be a guest later on in the show. It's history who will talk about basketball with us. But you'll just have to find out, you know. Leave you on a little cliffhanger. But
Maybe.
what you missed here. First thing, Tommy Edman signed a 5-year, $74 million contract with the Dodgers.
This is a big signing because we were talking about, and me and Andrew were talking about this. I don't believe we talked about this on the podcast, but with Haesung Kim coming over, we didn't know because that's closer to Japan, closer to his hometown. We did not know if they were going to, because Mookie Betts is coming back into the infield. Mm-hmm. So if they moved Mookie over to shortstop and then had him right there at second base, we didn't know if they were going to sign Edman back, but they have signed Edman back, and I think this is a good pickup for the Dodgers. I do think Edman is a good place for them in LA.
Yeah.
The Red Sox have signed Adolis Chapman to a 1-year, $10.75 million contract.
Mm.
That's big. He's been a big closer in the past few years. He was with the Pirates
The flamethrower
last year. Yeah, flamethrower.
throws so fast.
But that's also what we said about the Rokai.
Yeah.
That's a cool name too.
Oh my
Rokai
gosh.
Nico.
You have Rokai, Nico, and what was the other one you said?
Ashton.
Ashton. Yeah, those are your 3 kids. Well,
My 4 kids are named after.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, another one. The Yankees, obviously interested in Juan Soto. But it's recently been announced that the Yankees are interested in Willie Adames. And also, there has been a couple trade talks between the Cubs and the Yankees for outfielder Cody Bellinger. So, in my opinion, not much has been said, but I think this is kind of like an opt-out where Juan Soto doesn't get it. They can't get Anthony Santander. Or Santander. Sorry, I say his name wrong.
Santander.
Or, so you don't get either of those. Just looking at outfield market, you get Cody Bellinger, who has proved himself over years. He's just a great player. He's very consistent, a really big hitter and stuff like that. And so, yeah, just kind of an insurance behind Juan Soto is kind of the Cody Bellinger. And then Willie Adames, just looking for a good middle infield player.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Cody Bellinger would be a really good fit for the Dodgers, especially with that first base hole. They're still trying to figure out if they want to go after someone like Christian Walker or someone like Pete Alonso. So I do think Cody Bellinger would actually be a really good fit for the
Forgot
Yankees.
about that. He does play first base too, yeah.
Yeah. And then Luis Severino, the Mets pitcher, used to be Mets pitcher, has signed with the A's. The first move we've seen by the A's for a 3-year, $67 million contract. And it's the biggest signing in A's history, which is crazy, as Shohei is getting signed, like, what was it,
$700 million.
$700 million, and the biggest signing ever for the A's is $67 million.
It's just kind of sad. Like, it shows you where the A's are at right now.
Yeah.
People chanting sell the team and the games. I mean, it's history. It's good.
But
I'm honestly surprised that Luis Severino signed there.
Yeah, me too, but
hey,
that's true.
Where the money is, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's definitely impactful.
Yeah.
I thought the Mets would want him back, but yeah.
That's true. Do you think people like? Because I know for me this would be a big part of me. But do you think people are like? Because I want to make history, I'll sign with this team. Like, do you think like Luis Severino's like, I'll be the one who signs the biggest contract ever with the A's.
See, in my opinion, here's the thing. I'm pretty sure Luis Severino is married. Pretty sure he has kids. Pretty sure he's like mid-30s. So I feel like most likely no, because you're moving your entire family.
But if you're moving them anyways, if someone's giving you the same deal, let's say if there's another team, let's say, I don't know, random team, Mariners. If the Mariners offer you a 3-year, $67 million contract, and then, or someone, I don't know, let's say two teams are equal.
Maybe.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you think people are like, well, my family would like living there, or they're like, man, I really would like to make history here? Or do you think they just moved because they're like, I want to play here?
That'd be funny if they were like, I want to make history.
Dude, I can make history here.
That's funny.
I think this is crazy because back then, Pete Rose, a very good, used to be. I think he deserves the Hall of Fame. We could probably do like almost a whole podcast.
Yeah.
Pete Rose, there's a lot of things, but he was ejected from baseball for gambling. But he was one of the best players. He still holds a lot of the records today for most hits and other things like that. He had the biggest contract ever in the MLB back then for $3.2 million.
Just shows you how much
That's
money
just crazy because you see Shohei now signing with $7.
The front of the money. But
It's just money floating around. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but it's really just floating around. You know what I mean?
yeah. The next one we have is Christian McCaffrey to injured reserve again this season with a knee injury. Will miss at least the rest of the regular season, and possibly the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then Jordan Mason will also go to the injured reserve.
Yeah, so that means both of the 49ers running backs, the two main running backs, are going to be out. And so
That's not good.
Isaac, his last name is Garindo. Isaac Garindo, I believe, is going to be the main running back for the 49ers at this time. Austin Eckler, a well-known name in the past, he's also going to the IR on a concussion for the Commanders. He was a second-string running back anyways. I know he's been a popular name in the past, though.
Next up, we have Trevor Lawrence getting absolutely just obliterated by Azeez Al-Shaair. Now, there's a bunch of debate, and I'll encourage you to research and just look at it because everybody has their own opinion. Trevor Lawrence was carted off the field with a concussion. He's out for the season.
Yeah, right.
Jaguars' playoff hopes are kind of killed. We'll see. And then Azeez was suspended for 3 games.
Yeah, he was also suspended for that game. I think. They can make a song about this. You know, like Kramer got ran over by a reindeer.
Trevor Lawrence got ran over by a Shaair.
Linebacker. Lawrence got ran over by a linebacker.
You never know, man. But hey, it was crazy. It was a big hit. But
it was a big hit. I think he did apologize, but I do think this is the right choice. It was an illegal hit. They suspended him for that game, 3 more games. It was a brutal hit. It was terrifying. It started a fight. I mean, it was not good whatsoever.
Well, the reason I say you could research it on your own is because there's this growing thing that I've seen where Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen have started this thing where they act like they're going to run out of bounds, and then the person steps out, and then they run by them, and then they are scared to get roughing the passer. So these quarterbacks are getting 10, 15, 20 more yards on these crazy fake plays. And so it's just hard to be a linebacker like that and say, well, should I tackle him? Am I going to get roughing the passer? And stuff like that.
Well, the hard thing was that, like, Trevor Lawrence was just sliding to the ground. So it was a legal hit because he was sliding. So you're already pretty much down. You're down when you start sliding. So him, while he's sliding, to come in and just hit him. Yeah. I mean, he was in the air, too. His head hit the hard ground. You already knew. It took him a long time to get up. Yeah. And I mean, it was brutal. I was like, oh, my goodness. So I do think he deserved that, though. I mean, 3 games does make sense. You know you did something illegal. The funny thing is they don't really suspend people. Yeah. From the NFL, much unless it's for targeting or anything like that. But still, it wasn't even targeting. That was the funny part, too. Yeah, it was just bad. His hands just sort of like shoved into the ground. And so I'm glad he's okay, though. I know Trevor Lawrence has already been on the IR this season, so it's hard for Trevor Lawrence to know. He's also, the Jags haven't been doing too well this year, but I hope they can improve in the future. And I think Trevor Lawrence still has more in him. Definitely. But then again, we've also seen a lot this year with a lot of people were debating if Tua should come back after 5 concussions just in his career. But it's really, I talked to my friend, a former football player, Ben Hartsock, about it, and he said that for him, when he got a concussion in the NFL, it was really just the doctor. It's up to the kids. Everyone's head can handle different stuff. So he said it just depends how much your head can handle, because sometimes one concussion could do it for somebody.
Yeah.
Like, they're just not going to be able to ever really do stuff like that. But, like, he has 5, so his head can handle more. So,
Yeah.
I really liked how he thought about that because I was really interested in what he had to say about it.
Yeah, and then he refused to wear the Guardian cap, but after further research, it was seen that the helmet that he was actually planning to use is actually just as good as the Guardian cap is, and like the technology in that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right, and the last thing we have, this is something I actually mentioned earlier about an opening head coach job. Bill Belichick, the one who won 7 Super Bowls with Tom Brady, is talking to North Carolina about the head coach job opening.
That would be huge.
That'd be crazy to see Bill Belichick in college football after coaching NFL forever. He's one of the best coaches ever, some would say, just because he's won 7 Super Bowls, which is more than anybody else ever. But I think that's crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy and something to look after. Well, we're sorry that we talked so long. We were
Yeah.
big yappers, but we were really excited just about the different things that happen in college football and then just the rest of the sports. But yeah, it was just a really exciting episode. We're glad we got to spend it with y'all. We hope that you didn't mind us just talking too long. But we'll see you guys next time on our 5th episode. Peace.